Hey folks, Melissa Ackeson, Executive Director with Patriots for Ohio, coming to you live on YouTube. As you guessed it, I've been kicked off of Facebook for a solid 2 months now for posting images of the Buffalo Shaman who stormed the Capitol. Doesn't stop us from doing the good work that we're doing with Patriots for Ohio and giving you all of the scoop on what's behind the scenes with Ohio corruption, who's running for office, what's going on. All of the work is still going on. I'm just being censored from using Facebook Live to communicate to all of our Patriots for Ohio what's going on. So here is what I suggest all of you do. Do not plan for social media to be the forum that allows us to communicate, because as we see and as we all know, there's massive censorship across the board from anyone who has any conservative viewpoint whatsoever. I truly believe that when we came back from Washington, D.C., despite the fact that we didn't participate in the Capitol riots and condemn those riots, I believe that the interviews that we did with the media, Patriots for Ohio being out in the open, is what ultimately caused us to lose our website hosting, to lose our access of social media and live video, and to regroup, to rebuild everything from scratch, which hopefully will be launched next week. The website looks beautiful. The content is wonderful. How to run for office will be listed. Everything from our video library, all of the happenings of what's going on in Ohio politics will be included on our website. But just understand we had to rebuild because we have been deplatformed from just about every single social media site. So, one thing that we're doing that I think is going to be very critical for folks is making sure that we have your email address and your information to communicate via email. It looks like we're going back to the Stone Ages of viral email, given the fact that social media has been shut down. So please sign up today at patriotsforohio.com. Shoot us your email. Allow us to stay in contact with you so we can keep you updated on everything. Second thing I want to remind you to do is we have a backup text messaging service. So in the event that there is critical legislation that we need to get everyone activated and motivated to call your legislator at the state or federal level, these are important time-sensitive messages that we have to get out to the public. If you have not signed up for our text messaging service, do it now. And the number is 1-833 535-0800. That's 1-833-535-0800. You simply text the word Patriot when you send that text message, and we will be able to get in touch with you for our rapid response team. Lastly, I want to touch just a few minutes on the crazy primaries that are going to be happening. Not only with our Senator, Rob Portman, stepping down, that's opening up the field for several people who are going to jump into those races, but we also have folks who are jumping into the gubernatorial race for 2022 for a primary challenge for Mike DeWine. I would never discourage anyone. If it is your dream and you feel led by God and you want to run for office and this is what you want to do, I would never discourage any of you from doing that. As you know, I ran for U.S. Senate, I ran for state Senate in very aggressive races. I understand the need to want to change things and to recognize that Ohio is an absolute mess. I just want you to go into this with eyes wide open and understand. If you can't answer basic questions such as, how many votes do you need to run for governor? You're probably not prepared to make any type of announcement about what you're going to do. Folks do not understand that based on the public's lack of interest in politics until President Trump and the fact that most of the public stayed in the background, didn't do anything, this is what has put politics in such an expensive light because it's turned into an industry. If you plan on running for statewide offices, just remember, I've done this before, okay? So I'm telling you firsthand what you need to be able to do before making an announcement. We have 88 counties across the state of Ohio, 11.5 million people who live here. You need to understand county by county, and this is data-driven information that you can get through your local board of elections as well as the Secretary of State, but you need to understand, what have those last races look like? How many votes would I need to win? What counties should I be spending the most of my time? Because you're going to be on the road 7 days a week doing 3 and 4 events a day just to get out and talk to the public. Fundraising is going to be huge. Do not think that you can win a race without having a lot of money in the bank. And we're not talking about 10 bucks here. We're talking about millions of dollars in the bank. You have to be able to ask people to contribute to the cause. What you'll soon find out, and I hate to say this because I know I sound like a downer, you will realize that the echo chambers that you live in on Facebook with like-minded individuals many times are people who just want to be in echo chambers on Facebook with other like-minded individuals, and that doesn't necessarily mean that those people actually want to do something to help you get elected. You have to be able to get thousands of signatures if you decide that you're going to run for statewide office. I've done this before. When I ran for U.S. Senate, 3,000 signatures of Republicans, that was what was called for to be able to run for U.S. Senate. I believe it's the same for a gubernatorial race in Ohio. Do not think that you can just host an event at your house and thousands of people are going to show up, registered Republicans with the appropriate addresses, with the appropriate signatures, and just sign up to get you on the ballot. This takes work. We used to go to grocery stores with different moms in the neighborhood, and some of the farmers who were retired would go out and spend hours talking to people about my candidacy, and we would literally grocery shop, try to meet people, figure out if they were Republican, get the signatures we needed to be able to get on the ballot. That in itself is a task to take on. And if you're running against somebody who's already in with the Republican establishment, also understand that in all 88 counties, the Republican establishment has what's called central committees. These are filled with hundreds of people who will gladly go out and door knock for the candidate of the Republican Party's choice. They will get the signatures that are necessary. They will host the fundraisers and give to the cause. So you're literally starting from the ground up trying to establish a name for yourself. Here's another part. You have to remember, Mike DeWine's been in politics for a long, long time. You're talking about a generational politician with name recognition. You ask people, how do these folks keep getting elected into office? It's because the majority of people do not research their candidates. They recognize a name that seems familiar to them. They walk into the voting booth and they simply push either R or D or a name that sounds similar or familiar to them, and that's how they vote. You also better be gearing up millions of dollars for mail pieces. It is going to cost millions in mail just to be able to get your name out to people. So I'm trying to tell you that this is something that you need to do with careful consideration and understand. If you run a business, you will not be available to run your business. If you work a job, a 9 to 5, you will not be able to work your 9 to 5. This is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week commitment. And not only are you committed in signing up, you're also signing your family up for this. Have a wife or a husband or children with some issues in their past, that's all going to come out in the public, especially if you're actually able to fundraise the money to be able to run for office. You become a threat to the Republican establishment or the Democrats. Please understand that they will come for every single area of your life. It will be your business. It will be your past. It will be your family members. It will be any bad business dealing that you've had with people. All of those things are going to come for you in a very big way. Please, if this is something you're interested in doing, at a bare minimum, put out polling statewide and try to determine where the favorability rate is for Mike DeWine. I'll tell you where it is. It's significantly high. We have people in the field, as well as our polling that we've put out. You're talking about polls that cost $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to be able to gather the intel, the data, to know where Mike DeWine stands and what's the reality of being able to actually win. You also have to remember, in addition to the fundraising, in addition to the polling, in addition to the media that you're going to need, you simply saying that you're going to run for office on social media and trying to push that and having the thought, like I did, that maybe the media would cover your race, the media is not going to cover your race. They're not going to cover you unless you are a proven fundraiser and they take you seriously as a contender, because the media knows and understands not only are they in the pocket of the party apparatus of both the Republicans and the Democrats, they're not going to take you seriously if you can't raise the money, if you can't formulate a team, if you're not campaigning and doing 3 and 4 events a day, if you're not able to gather a following outside of social media. You think, oh, I'm going to get some earned media. The media will cover my race. It doesn't work like that. Are you a good communicator? If you're not a good communicator, have you considered hiring somebody to teach you how to give a speech? What about policy? It has to be more than just running for office because you know things are screwed up right now. Have you ever written policy before? Do you know how a bill becomes a law? Do you understand anything at all about the legislative process? You have to know and study these things before you are taken seriously as a contender. The last thing that I want to see is people so frustrated that they're willing to give everything up, because this will be a tremendous undertaking. Please understand that they are willing to give everything up only to lose their businesses, to break their family relationships or whatever. This is serious. This is serious. So again, if you are considering jumping into the U.S. Senate race or a governor's race, understand this: it's going to cost millions and millions of dollars. There's no amount of well wishes or anything that people can give you to encourage you that's ever going to take place of the fact that you have to be able to buy commercial television media. You have to be able to use targeted digital ads on social media. You have to remember that the public is not educated on candidates, and that's how we have the dodo birds in the first place that we have in office right now. You have to understand that you're going to need the software and you're going to need the strategy and the data to figure out what doors are you supposed to be knocking, what houses do you need to mail information to. The bottom line, this is a tremendous undertaking. I want to see everyone do well. I want to see people be happy and feel like they're making a difference. Just understand what it is that you're getting involved with. One of the things Patriots for Ohio has been very diligent about doing is educating the public about stepping up and running for office, with the caveat that they understand that this is not an easy task, that you're going up against principalities of power and political dynasties that will stop at nothing to destroy your life and the lives of your family members and friends. I want you to understand this. So if you are not committed and dedicated to raising the money, to having the events, to putting your life on hold for the next 2 years, you're gearing up for 2022. If you're not able to do these things realistically, then you need to reconsider and get behind a candidate who has the resources, who has the ability to do this. I'm not telling any of you not to do this. I truly am not. I have a friend who is a business owner, great guy who's considering running. I'm going to sit down with him and explain to him, here's how many votes you need, here's what it's going to cost you by county, here's how much media you need, here's how many events you need to speak at. This is a mess. I mean, this is what has happened to our political environment that's led us to a situation where it's very difficult to run. You also need to remember, you can do all of the right things. You can work your tail off. You can make connections and do all of the things I'm telling you to do. But guess what happens? What are you going to do when the Republican Party comes out and they endorse the Republican swamp candidate or a candidate that isn't you? You know what that means? That means that you get dollars coming from your own party to fight you. They're going to do everything they can to combat you. The campaigns you're running against are going to do everything that they can to combat you. Money will come out of everywhere. And when you say endorsements, when I say what happens if the Republican Party endorses a candidate that you're running against, it means that they're going to receive discounted mail. They're going to receive all the party resources, all the party data, things that that candidate will no longer have to fundraise and pay for because it's being taken care of by a long establishment apparatus that's been in place for a long time. What are you going to do if you really believe in the Second Amendment and you know your policies are better than what the swamp Republicans are going to offer? And you know that you would stand for people's gun rights. You know what happens? The NRA will step in and they will endorse the Republican establishment candidate because it's all one and the same. This whole network is the same. Let's say that you're an abolitionist of abortion and you understand that Roe versus Wade is unconstitutional and that the Ohio legislature could have stopped abortion at any time in this state. Let's say that those are your principles and you want to end abortion. Well, guess what's going to happen? Ohio Right to Life, who's also associated with the establishment, is going to endorse the candidate that you're running against. They will send mail out for that candidate. And again, because the public isn't educated, they'll get mail pieces that say, oh, well, the NRA endorsed this person, must mean their Second Amendment. Oh, Ohio Right to Life endorsed this person, must mean that they're for the pro-life movement. I'm trying to set realistically in a very, very easy to understand video what this is going to take. If you are not an effective communicator, you cannot get behind a podium, you can't address thousands of people, you better be considering what it is that you need to do to raise the money to hire campaign consultants. And then guess what? What happens when you hire campaign consultants and they're actually political operatives that work for the Republican establishment? Then you've let someone into your home. They know your campaign strategy. They don't care about lawsuits. They don't. You're thinking, well, I would sue them. Just understand, they have the money to fight you in every way, shape, and form. They have the mechanism to fight you in every way, shape, and form. They will do everything they can, even going out and blacklisting you to where you cannot hire people to print your mail pieces. You can't hire companies to record your commercials. You can't find anybody decent to run your campaign. I've seen it happen to people. And portions of this that I'm explaining to you happened to me. I was a record-breaking fundraiser, ran for the state Senate race, raised nearly $200,000, worked my tail off, 3 and 4 events a day, campaigned for over a year and a half of my life, and nobody can tell you that in the way that I can tell you, this is no joke. It's very difficult. So I want you thinking about what's going on. We will be giving a ton of commentary on this throughout the primary process. We'll be weighing in and giving our opinions and looking at candidates. I want the best for everybody. I want people who are serious about this, go with it if that's where God's leading you to do. I'm not telling you not to. What I'm telling you is, on Facebook, those voices and that echo chamber of people cheering you on, let's see if they're there when it comes to helping you fundraise. Let's see if they're there when it comes to stuffing envelopes at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning to save you fees and to get your mail pieces mailed out. Let's see if they're willing to do telephone calls for you to help get your name out, to go door knocking, to do whatever it is or whatever it takes. It's a lot of work, and I just need people to understand that. I wish everybody the best. I especially get excited whenever I see these grassroots candidacies. I'm just telling you, you're not going to be taken seriously if you don't have several million in the bank. And don't say things like, oh, well, my message will be so great that I'll be able to get... Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. I understood policy and wrote policy in the private sector as an HR director, so I knew how to write policy. I understood legislation. I understood... If you don't know these things, or you have no background, or at a bare minimum, if you can't articulate what your thoughts and feelings are, if you can't show up for debates, if you can't have the pressure, I haven't even touched on the pressure, the public pressure that's going to come out from you when you reach somebody who doesn't agree with you in your community. These things never go away. When you show up with your family out to dinner and you've got people harassing you or protesters at your... All of these things are going to happen. You will lose business because of the way that you believe, especially if you're a conservative in cancel culture. So just understand exactly what goes on to this. I know this is a lot to take in. I'm just trying to be helpful to let you know that at a very bare minimum, if you can't get the thousands of signatures that you're going to need to get, or you think people are magically going to show up with Republican names to sign all of your... It doesn't work that way. I'm talking about really hard, gritty work, raising the money, getting people on board, dealing with all of the implications that comes along with running for office, and just know what you're going into, because you have to have eyes wide open before you take on such an undertaking. I think it's going to be exciting primary season. Sounds like a lot of people are getting in. Just please understand, if you know that you can't raise the millions to run, and if you know you can't dedicate 7 days a week to do this, and if you know you don't understand policy, or you don't understand legislation, or you don't want to be made uncomfortable when you go out in the public and you have opposing political viewpoints and people harassing you, if you know that you can't handle that type of a fight, get on board with somebody who you do agree with, who is running, who is taken seriously, who can raise the millions, and do whatever it takes if your goal is to truly take out Mike DeWine from running or having a successful gubernatorial bid the second time. It's very serious, very, very serious. So again, that's a long message, but a very important one for all of you. And I just touched It's not even the tip of the iceberg. I just gave you a little bit of information there. Again, sign up. Text the word Patriot to 1-833-535-0800 so we can communicate with you. Make sure we'll be relaunching our website sometime next week. I believe Wednesday is the date that we'll be piloting that program. We will have steps on there of how to run for office. We'll do the best we can as an educational resource and a 501c4 to help guide you down the path and show you things that could be helpful to you. And most importantly, sign up for patriotsforohio.com. Get involved today. Contribute. Now, here's one thing I'll tell you. On the website that we're launching next week, there will be a large warning that pops up that specifically says we are interested in working with doers. We're not interested in getting into echo chambers on social media where everybody just complains all day. We're not interested in working that way because it's not effective and it's not going to change anything. So if you're going to get involved with our organization, understand it's either going to be as a donor, it's going to be as a supporter and someone who's going to help advance legislative causes or ballot initiatives, or it's going to be someone who's made a decision to run for office and they need to gather some of our resources. But these are for doers. These aren't for people, the summertime patriots who just talk about what they're going to do and talk about what's wrong, but they don't do anything about it. Just understand that's the type of organization that we are. We are doers. We are workers. We make it happen. We want your support. And please take this seriously if you're considering running for any state, any office, not just statewide, not just getting out to all 88 counties, but running for any office in the state right now. Look forward to talking to all of you soon, and God we trust.